Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Burn Nation, welcome back to the podcast. You got Trish and I here today. Trish, I'm just excited to be here. What about you?
I am so excited to be here. I feel like summer is in the air. It's all good all around, Devin.
And we get to talk about what makes a great athlete at Burn and athletic training and fitness. This is a fitness episode, and I'm just excited. We have a bunch of doctors that we're going to talk, scientists, fitness, nutrition scientists who are just going to speak on the art of training and athletic training from Dr. Jacob Gooden, Marcus Rios, Dr. Mike, amongst some other ones. We'll get into that as we go, but it's so important that we're educated. One of the philosophies that we have at Burn Bootcamp is that an educated member is a retained member. Now we say that like behind the scenes when we're talking to our trainers. We're like, hey, listen, you got to educate our members, because when we do that, it's not like we want to hold the things back from them that they need to know, right? We want to educate them so that you have all the tools that you could possibly need. We want to educate you, and we want you to want to be here, not need to be here.
Right.
So we're not going to hold anything back. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. My passion is education, and our mission statement, we say we vow to educate, and we take that very seriously in our marketing efforts. And we lean into authenticity into everything we do, and that is because we want to educate you on exactly what we do, why we're doing it.
Okay, so I'm going to start very high level at the podcast today, okay? We're going to start with just kind of breaking down the Burn Bootcamp protocol and the programming, and then we're going to go in and we're going to talk about athletic movement patterns, strength and power development, speed, agility, reaction training, injury prevention, people, and recovery. We all need a little bit of corrective exercise, science, and knowledge there. And then we're going to apply the athletic training like into the Burn workouts. We have some clips that we're going to share. This is going to be a really colorful episode. We're going to go about an hour here. And so sit back. Do not grab popcorn. All right? Maybe some like Brussels sprouts or something like that. And or a Burn bar. And some, you know what I had after my workout? I had the brand new cookies and cream.
Delicious.
It dropped in the gym yesterday. 2 scoops. And I had a peanut butter afterburn bar with the cookies and cream afterburn protein right after a nasty Metcon workout. It was so good. Okay, so I want to, like I said, break this down from a high level. Let me go back to the parking lot days real quick. 2012, all right? Burn Bootcamp is a baby between really my athletic training with Central Michigan Chippewas, the San Francisco Giants. 2 championship cultures taught me a lot about what I know. All right, and then you got a little bit of P90X in there. Shout out to Tony Horton, because I used P90X to train in the offseason a couple times. Then you have kind of like some modern day, like boot camp style stuff with like some traditional, how would you say, like interval, like sprint interval training. And what you end up with essentially is 3 strength days where we're focused on hypertrophy, which is like maximal muscle tissue gain. That's our goal. And 3 conditioning days, not cardio, people, because even on strength days, you get your heart rate up. Cardiovascular, all right? Conditioning, we're conditioning the metabolism, okay? And so 3 strength, 3 conditioning. Now, we stay there today. Now, for all my people and all my trainers out there who are like, you know what, I really want to do more strength. Well, there's this one protocol title that we have, and I digress, I'll get back to where I was going. But there's this one protocol title that we have called Metcon.
Yeah.
And Metcon sits right in the middle. It is strength and conditioning. So if you had 3 strength and 3 conditioning days every week, Metcon can go either way. It can go either way. It depends on you and your trainer and what you guys are dialing in for your personal goals. Because if it's me, and you can speak to the conditioning side, but if it's me, I like to go for like more strength, more hypertrophy days. So on those Metcon days, I'm going to like if let's say we have 25 reps, 20 reps, 15 reps in a drop set in a circuit, I'm going to lower my reps to maybe 12, 10, 8, and I'm going to be in like a full body hypertrophy mode. When somebody else who maybe their goal is to maybe get leaner, or their goal is to increase their speed, increase their like power output. I'm trying to increase like my maximum muscle gain, right? If you want to increase your power output, you might want to go for that 25, that 20, and the 15 higher rep range. What do you like? Metcon can go either way. Which way do you go with it?
Oh, power, 100%. One of my favorite parts about Metcon is how I can increase my weight with higher reps, so I feel stronger, but I'm still not going for my whatever my max rep would be on like a strength day. I'm still going down probably 5 or maybe sometimes 10 pounds, but I'm a power through and through.
All the way. Okay, so 3 and 3. I just wanted to mention that real quick because I get that a lot. Hey, DK, let's do some more strength days. Metcon can be a strength day. It just depends on you and your trainer and how you're manipulating those reps to get to your goals. Okay, let's see. So 3 strength, 3 conditioning. It's always been that way, all right? Now we're going to talk about where we're at today. All right, where we're at today is now we've taken those 3 strength, 3 conditioning. We've put them into what we call mesocycles. Meso meaning month. Roughly a month-ish, okay, maybe 6 weeks. There's 9 of those in 2025. And we're going to talk in the next segment about human movement patterns, and we're going to really introduce the Burn Bootcamp human movement patterns, as well as discuss, I think with Dr. Jacob Gooden, a little bit about human movement patterns, super smart guy. But the human movement patterns, the functional movements, are the foundation to the new style of training. Not the new style, but I would say the more dialed in style of personalized training at Burn, because we've always been personal trainers in a group setting. So now we have these mesocycles, and there's 9 of them in 2025, and each one of them are marked by the human movement patterns. And within the 12 human movement patterns, we have 7 primary, 5 secondary. There's 2 fundamental exercises that we track and we test. So that's the big revelation in Burn Nation, is that we are now asking all of our members not just to show up and work hard, not just to show up and exercise, but to show up and train with an intention by tracking these human movement patterns and making sure that these fundamental 24 exercises, that you know them, we're going to talk about them here in a moment, that you know them, and that you're doing what's called a what, Trisha? A PR, baby.
PR week.
Give me a little plug there for PR week.
Yeah. So what I like about this the most is it's telling a story all year long for your training program, right? And so what we did, well, I can't say we because I'm not the mastermind behind it, but Matt Morris and Devin Klein, masterminds behind our programming, they're creating a story, but we're able to then test where we're at within half of the mesocycle. So right now, if you're a Burn Bootcamp member, you know we're in PR week. We've hyped this up. We're so excited because what we want to do is we want to show how much strength you have gained since we started back in January in mesocycle number 1. So it's the first 5 mesocycles that we're now taking 2 of those exercises and we're testing currently in the gym.
I'm an animal for these PRs. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Can't wait. I'm like so excited to show up to camp now.
It's you versus you.
Yeah, you versus you.
Is there anything better?
Let's go. All right, so let's talk about these athletic movement patterns. We have 7 primary, 5 secondary. We have graphics in the studio, right? Let's go ahead and throw those graphics up real quick, if you guys don't mind. And then we're going to go to the clip by Dr. Jacob Gooden. And now, listen, generally speaking, all of us exercise science people, we're all going to agree that there's like these movement patterns. Some might say 8, some might say 7, some might put some of the secondary into the primary and primary into the secondary. It's all the same stuff, all right? But here's the 12 human movement patterns. It's push, pull, lunge, squat, hinge, agility, and gait, okay? Balance, carry, rotate, brace, and jump are the secondary. Now, if you go into the next graphic, and if you guys are watching this, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, which you should, then you can see what we're talking about on the screen. If you're on Apple or you're just listening, I'll make sure I'm explaining the graphics for you. But we have now the fundamental 24 exercises, okay? So now you can see in blue here, push, pull, lunge, squat, hinge, agility, gait, balance, carry, rotate, brace, and jump. Each one of those, we have 2 exercises. So we're in PR week. We are, like Trisha said, the first 5 mesocycles are being tested, and we are looking to the push movement pattern for testing push-ups, chest press. all right? A body weight for that one, and then I'm not going to go through all these, but then a resistance or a load. Pull-ups and one-arm row, and if you're looking at this this graphic here, you can go down, you can see them all right? But for each one, each 12, there's 2 exercises that equals the fundamental 24. So I want you guys to all get to know these movement patterns, and I want you to memorize them, and I want you to be excited when you see them in the protocol, because this is your opportunity, like Trisha said, to compete with yourself. It's not a competition against other people. Michael Jordan said that the best. He's like, I don't show up every night. If I showed up every night and tried to compete against the competition, I'm never going to get better. I show up and try to compete with myself, and that's why he is the GOAT, greatest of all time. Sorry, you LeBron James fans out there, but you know what it is. Let's go to the clip with Dr. Jacob Gooden, because he does explain these fundamental human movement patterns. We get like a 30-second clip. I just want to hear from him, and then we'll react real quick.
Cuts through the complexity of exercise names and categorizations is to categorize movements based on their relation to the 7 fundamental human movement patterns, which are squatting, hinging, lunging, pushing, pulling, bracing, and locomotion. Let's talk about each of these. We'll go over some exercise variations that fit into each of these
See the note at the bottom there? Other practitioners may use slightly different categories. It depends on preference and usefulness within your own training and coaching paradigm, okay? So, like I said, Dr. Gooden here, he's going to sit right next to us and say, oh, yeah, I see why you guys had picked these 12 exercises or these 12 movement patterns and put 7 into primary in the way that you did and the 5 into the secondary, because you guys are training to be like athletes, and you are training, we like at Burn Bootcamp, we want you to be able to have like a 10 rep max, and then go out and run a half a mile, and then come back in and do double unders, and just be very, how would you say, diversified. Trisha, your diversification, I mean, talk about that like with your own training program, because, I mean, we have the SAC, right? That is a real test of these movement patterns. We put those all together. Explain that real quick.
The SAC, so it's in order to be a trainer at Burn Bootcamp, you have to pass the strength and conditioning test. And this is also something that you don't have to be a trainer. I've challenged myself with it when I'm not a trainer, just as a member, to see. It's a really good way to get a baseline of where you're at, and then give you goals to work on. So we have 6 different exercises. It is jump squats, jump lunges, jump squats, push-ups, burpees, double unders, pull-ups, and then a half mile run. And so there's reps that are associated with all of that, and then it's timed. So you want to see if you can complete all of those reps, and there's some exercises that are unbroken, so you have to complete them unbroken, and if you don't, then you have to start all the way back from 1.
We're going to do a whole episode on the SAC.
We should. I really like the SAC.
We're going to do a whole episode on the SAC. Okay, Chelsea and Jordan? All right, we're going to do that. We're going to mark that down, and we're going to go deep into it, and we're going to teach all of you what it takes to pass the SAC, because so many members do it, right?
Yeah, we should do it before and then talk about it.
Ooh, that'd be good.
And then try to retest ourselves and see if we, like a little live, I don't know.
We should do that. Yeah, do we want to do it on camera? Jordan wants to do it on camera. He said, let's do it.
Let's go.
We'll spend the first 15 minutes, well, for me, 7 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't know. You probably beat that, huh?
I'm going to
pretty
try.
close? Yeah,
but
you're
it's
pretty close.
me versus me, but I'm going to try and beat you.
Okay. All right. Well, here in the studio, we have to go up and down the stairs as part of our half-mile run, so I might add a couple of seconds to it. But in Burn Nation, especially on, what was it, about a month ago, was it like Memorial Day or something? Memorial Day, our locations had an election to do a strength and conditioning, an SAC-based workout, or kind of like a normal athletic conditioning. And so this is becoming more popular outside of our trainers, because our members are watching our trainers do it, and they're like, oh, yeah, I think I can do that. And actually, some of the fastest times I've seen out there have been our members who show up and get after it. Speaking of getting after it, there's this trainer that I just really like this little take. It's a very, very short clip. It's Marcus Rios, and he's a beast. And I just wanted to show this clip real quick, because it shows when you say power, it shows what power training is. A lot of people think power training is just they really think it's maximal strength training, which is like 1 rep max, 3 rep max, 5 rep max, or in exercise science, we call it 1 RM, 3 RM, 5 RM. He does a good job. It's a visual of explaining what power training actually is. Power training is moving fast with velocity. This could be like plyometrics, or it could be what I used to do at Central Michigan and with the Giants is like hang cleans with the barbell, or we do a lot of hang cleans, a clean and jerk at Burn Boot Camp with dumbbells. It's moving weight through a movement pattern with velocity, but it's power, it's maximum effort, as opposed to like maximal strength training, which is more like, you're sticky and it's like 1 rep and I get to do 1 rep. So power doesn't mean like super heavy lifting. And I want to make sure that you all know that, because part of being an athlete is power training, especially at Burn Boot Camp. We're going to mix hypertrophy with power. Let's go ahead and roll Marcus Rios, this little short clip from him.
How to train like an athlete, let's get into it. As you can see, my workouts are a little bit different. On top of doing my basic strength exercises and movements, I like to do drills like this. Trust me, these are the little things that's gonna actually translate to your sport that most athletes forget to do. So be sure to include this into your training, be consistent, you'll get the results.
So he's moving through, like you can see, he's got a med ball, he's got a sled, he's jumping, he's the plyometric piece of it. Mm-hmm. So he has the plyometric piece there. He also has that weighted sled, which gives an example of both things that I mentioned. And I just wanted to make sure that we're all clear when like training like an athlete when you hear the word power, that doesn't mean like bench pressing for your like 1 rep max. We're not going to do a ton of that at Burn Boot Camp, because that's more specific to like bodybuilding, or it's more specific to strong competitions, strength competitions. Trisha, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I was going to say, we talk a lot about at Burn Boot Camp, we're training for life. And yes, this clip was him training as an athlete, but you think about all of the things that you do throughout the day. You need to have strength, and you also need to have agility. You step over a crack and maybe you're going to trip. You need to be able to be agile to keep yourself up. So that's where I think, our training program really is successful at making sure that we are set up for success in our life. And then also, yes, longevity from a muscle perspective. So I think that that's something that I don't want people to think we're just talking about, you have to be an athlete to work out at Burn Boot Camp. We're all athletes, because every single day is our sport.
That's right. And I want to switch to strength and power now, because this is a great segue. Let's show the NASM OPT model graphic. So all of our trainers at Burn Boot Camp, or the vast majority of them, we are partnered with NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I personally have basically had every certification over the last 13 years. NASM is by far my favorite. So I'm a CPT with NASM. I am a corrective exercise specialist, a CES, and recently got my CNC, my nutrition certification. So I got the big 3 with NASM now, and that was really important to me, because yes, I'm like the fitness business guy, but like also I started as a trainer and I love training, and I'm on the mic once a month, and I'm in the studio on demand. I absolutely love it. It's my craft. And for a while there, I got away from it. Like I got into this mode where I was trying to be things that other people thought I might be, which is like this, the visionary and the fitness and the business guy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good at that stuff, but I don't really want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. I think like listening to your heart is really, really important. And if you guys have been following me recently, I've been doing that a lot more, just trying to be present, be in the moment, and just follow my calling. And my calling leads me back to where we started in the parking lot, which is taking somebody who has an outlook on life that isn't as good as it could be, and showing them how strong they are and how badass they really are. And so my Bible, in a sense, for fitness goes back to NASM, and it goes back to the OPT model. And I just want to talk about this really quickly. And Trish, stop at any time that you have something to interject here. But there's really these 3 phases, right? Level 1, level 2, or 3 levels, and then phases within each level. So level 1 is stabilization, level 2 is strength, and level 3 is power. So notice what we've been talking about. Power has its own level. And then you can break those down into kind of 5 steps. Level 1 and phase 1 are the same. So stabilization, endurance. I'm going to just go over them, and then we'll add some color to it. Phase 2, I keep saying that. Level 2 has 3 phases. Phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, where it goes strength endurance first, muscular development, or when I use that word hypertrophy, that's what that means. And then phase 4 is that maximal strength. I'm talking 1 RM, 3 RM, 5 RM, 10 RM. And we'll get into some of that at Burn for sure. We'll get into like 8 rep max. There's a handful of members that get into a 5 rep max, but mostly it's 10, 12, 15 rep max, which will take you back down into that muscular development, more hypertrophy phase. How do you define those? Well, it's really that rep range. The rep range of muscular development or hypertrophy, meaning maximal muscle gain and tissue development, is really like 8 to 15 reps. And listen, I'm not here to argue like exactly what the definition of that is. It's about that. Every book, every person, just like Dr. Gooden said, like every practitioner will have a slightly different variation, and there's different science and all that. But generally speaking, it's 8 to 15 reps. Okay, that's muscular development. But it's very important to go to muscular failure. Not just like when you feel like quitting, right, Trish?
Yeah.
Like what? Like explain like what muscular failure actually is.
When you literally can't do another rep.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Like your muscles, like you can't, like you need, like a trainer needs to come and, I'm thinking of bicep curl. Ashley Beasley, my trainer, will come up and like help me, support me. I couldn't have got that rep on my own. That was failure.
Yeah, and if you have to like manipulate other like the rest of your body, you have to like, if you're doing a curl, for example, and you got to throw your shoulders way back, and you got to rock it up like Arnold or Hulk Hogan, then you're not in good form. So form failure is really important. The number one way to intensify any movement is by form. So hypertrophy is really, really important. Form failure is really a really important term that I want you guys to remember, and that is until gravity takes over. Okay? Until gravity takes over, you're not done. You got more reps. And the best trainers in the world they see that, and they know exactly what to say to you, to motivate you, to inspire you to get to that failure. And that kind of ties back into psychology and, the intersection of where Trisha and I like to stay, which is nutrition and fitness and psychology. Because when we can think differently about fitness and nutrition, then we become motivated and inspired to actually do it rather than some chore that has to get done. So one more time with this NASM graphic. And the OPT model, by the way, stands for Optimal Performance Training Model. And we follow this basically to a T at Burn. We do skip over phase 4 largely, like I said, especially with new members. Now, Trisha and I, we've been training at Burn for years now. So we are going to be in maximal strength. And Ashley Beasley and Lindsay Treadway and the rest of our trainers at Lake Norman, Katie Burke, they're all going to put us into that maximal strength, especially on those strength days, okay? But 90% of the time, guys, like you're going to get through phase 1, stabilization, endurance. So like you're just going to get stability first. Then you're going to get phase 2, stability, like endurance within that stability, a little bit of strength there, higher repetitions, 20, 25 reps, real muscular development. Phase comes next. And then you're going to get to maximal strength training only after, a couple years once you really need to push the envelope. But power is where it's all at, the power phase. The power phase, so muscular development, phase 3, and phase 5, power. That's where athletes are built, okay? That's where the athletes are built. So for an example, with the Giants, I would do my periodization, right? My mesocycles would be designed specifically for me, just like we're designing these mesocycles specifically for you. In our focus meetings, you get to sit down with our trainers. You get to tell them exactly what your goals are. We're training you to your goals. It's group periodization. We've invented this concept, okay? And what happens is you have an individual unique goal. And a lot of times as you progress, in order for you to get there, right, in order for you to keep progressing, you can't be in hypertrophy all the time. Toward the end of that mesocycle, toward the end of that phase, what you're going to start doing is layering on hypertrophy with power. So you might see this called a superset in the gyms. You might see it be called a drop set or a drop superset in the gyms. We have 9 protocol titles and 37 different formats. Okay, and a lot of times toward the end of these mesocycles, Matt and I are specifically programming hypertrophy with power back to back. So hypertrophy with power looks like 10 to 12 reps to failure, right? Let's just say on a back squat. And then immediately, without any rest at all, jump squat, jump squat, jump squat, jump squat, jump squat. Wait if you can move through. Remember, power is moving with velocity through the movement. If you can go back squat, 10 rep max, followed by a jump squat, 20, 25 reps, woo!
Yeah.
That's where you adapt, because all we're trying to do is introduce new stimulus to the body and get our bodies to adapt, okay? And so next time you see weights backed up with plyometrics, then you know that you're in one of those phases where, hey, lean into today because this is what's going to make you better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I always feel like the chatter on social whenever it's a leg like plyo day, it always like catches you by surprise. I've been a member for over 9 years, and it is hard, it is challenging, but it's great for your body. So
let's go to strength training versus power training by Schoenfield, Dr. Schoenfield.
We were talking about the resistance training, we've mentioned strength training, and then there's power training, and I think this probably has a little bit to do with what you just mentioned with the problem with aging, right? And so can you just briefly talk about the differences and maybe where, like, does one shine more than the other with respect to like what older individuals should be doing or focusing on, or is it like, women versus men? Is there any differences there as well?
So the definitions do somewhat vary depending upon who you ask. I'll give you mine. So resistance training is kind of a catch-all for any type of exercise that moves against resistance. This would be body weight exercise, push-ups, pull-ups, body weight squats would be a resistance exercise. Free weights, machines, cables, any of these would be considered resistance exercise. Strength training often is used synonymously with resistance training, but also it can be thought of as specific to, let's say, powerlifting, where you're moving very heavy loads, and necessarily when you're lifting heavy loads, you're moving them very slowly. You can't, if I give you a very heavy load to lift, you can't move that fast, or you'd be able to do more than whatever you're doing. You'd be able to do more repetitions than what you're doing. Whereas power is the ability to produce force over time, so more quickly. The more rapidly you can produce force, the more power you generate. Power is developed on a foundation of strength, but it also involves this time component. And there is evidence that at least some training needs to be done, quote unquote, explosively. So moving weights quickly.
Yeah, I love that. That's good. So he said explosively. Okay, so he is talking about power lifting, which is our phase 4 that we talked about, which is maximal strength. And then he goes into moving with like actual power training, which is the more plyometric or or even like resistance based moving through the movements. He talked about the time component. What he's really saying there is like, we want to move. If we can move, this is where it kind of gets confusing sometimes for members and even trainers in Burn. When I might show a video on my Instagram or something of me on an athletic conditioning day having resistance on my body, right? And they're like, well, hey, isn't strength training, doesn't that mean weights? Well, no. What strength training means is time. It's the time that you're spending in it. So if I'm doing a 5-rep max, I can't move. Dr. Schoenfield saying this, you can't move that weight fast. But if I can move the weight fast, it's not about the weight, it's about my time through the weight with the weight, right? So if I'm able to, say, put a 50-pound weight on my back and do a jump squat, but I can move through that movement, that's power, right? I'm gonna need 250 pounds in order to make it hypertrophy or maximal strength. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clear that up, and it's rightfully confusing because it's like, well, didn't you say that weights equal strength training? But like he said, resistance training is this kind of this catch-all thing.
Yeah, and I think today we did a full burpee, and it was a weighted full burpee. I think that's a great example of it. And then you can also see how then you're progressing in the amount of weight that you can pick up in that full burpee through power, right? I'm not trying to get necessarily, I'm getting stronger through power. I'm not getting stronger through muscle building. Does that make sense?
Am I
right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe someone had a question on why am I holding a weight while I'm doing a full burpee? that's why, because you're building your power.
Yeah, you're building your power. And if you can lift that weight with that tempo, we're talking about tempo now. You want to lift the weight with the tempo that doesn't make it strength training. It's basically all going to be resistance training to some extent because you have gravity pulling down on you. So even when you're doing a ladder drill, you have the resistance so like you said, that's like a catch-all thing, and it sometimes gets synonymous with strength training when in reality, it's about the time under tension that you're spending. And the time under tension is what puts you in either power, maximum strength, or hypertrophy, or stability strength, or stability endurance.
Yep.
Somebody that comes in who's brand new, their tempo is going to be, go back to the OPT model one more time. So their tempo, speaking of tempo, and this is a lot for a lot of my older members out there, if you're just coming in, let's say, let me define what older means. Let's just say that you're 50 years or older and you haven't worked out much. I'm starting you at phase 1. Okay, let's use the squat for an example so we can go through this, okay? Phase 1, if you are, let's just say somebody that is 50 years or older, you're coming in with no really prerequisite fitness background, your muscles have never really been forced to adapt before, I got to get them to adapt. I got to get them ready and primed up. I can't just throw you right into muscular development with the rest of our camp because that'd be bad, and you'd get injured or you get hurt, you'd get some type of, DOMS or something that's going to hurt you, and we don't want to do that. So we call it the hypertrophy highway. We're going to get you there to hypertrophy, to phase 3 in muscular development, but not before phase 1 and phase 2. And guys, this is where the real personal training in a group setting comes in, right? I have nothing against, I love all fitness, but in like a concept like maybe a Les Mills or something where there's a group instructor that's just doing the choreography, they're usually going to stay in stabilization endurance regardless of your ability level. Because of what I'm saying, the injury or the risk that comes along with getting up into these higher phases. But stabilization and endurance is like, if we're using the squat as an example, I'm going to have you drop down into a squat hold. I'm going to assess whether you could actually do that squat hold or not. If you, let's say you haven't mastered that quite yet, not that you can't, I'm going to then put you on a wall. And I'm going to have you hold a wall chair. Because I need your muscle, time under tension, I need you to recruit all those little muscle fibers that are going to say, hey, by the way, we're dormant muscle fibers. We haven't been used in a long time. We are now being used, and I need you to stay in that same position, that hold, that isometric or isolation, and hold it. And while Trisha's jump squatting with a 50 in her hand, and she's in the power phase 5, you're going to be in stabilization endurance phase 1. Okay, now let's say we go 2, 3 weeks. You're starting to really get it. 4 weeks even, 5, 3 months for some people. That's okay. We don't want to rush this. Then we go to phase 2. Now we're going repetitions. Full range of motion, just body weight. We don't need to add any load yet. That's going to be phase 3. Like Dr. Schoenfield said, that's still resistance training. We're using our body weight. We're using gravity. Strength endurance is, now I'm going to get you up to 20 reps or more, and I'm going to make sure that you have smooth, clean form for 20 reps or more. As soon as you have smooth, clean form for 20 reps or more for an extended period of time, then I'm going to put 10 pounds in your hand, and then I'm going to have you go to 15 reps. And then I'm going to assess your form. And then, really you're going to live there for a very long time, right? You're going to live in that phase where, okay, now you're going to move from 10-pound dumbbells for a few weeks or a few sessions for the squat over a couple week period, and then you're going to go to 20s, and then you're going to go to 25s, and then you're going to get to the point where you're back squatting, your body weight, and that's a good thing. We want to be able to back squat our body weight. That's a good metric. All right, and then now I'm going to start to introduce power to you. I'm going to have you back squat your body weight for 15 reps, or your body weight for 15 reps, and then I'm going to put you in to 20 reps of power jump squats. Then there's levels to the power, right? And then every now and then I'm going to lower that rep count, and I'm going to say, okay, for this week, during this period for you, I'm going to have you do your 8 RM, your 8 rep max, your 5 rep max with that phase 4, that maximal strength training. So if you can think about Burn Bootcamp, if you can visualize this, it goes phase 1, stabilization endurance, and then we progress you to phase 2, strength endurance, and then we progress you to phase 3, which is muscular development. You're going to live there. We live in hypertrophy. We're always going to come back here. When you're ready, we're going to superset phase 3 and phase 5, and then we're going to throw pops of phase 4 in there so that your muscles and your body is forced to adapt to new stimulus. And then it's going to be individualized, and you're going to sit down for focus meetings, and you're going to realize that there is so much to gain. There's so much to gain.
I would say I think that's important too as we talk about you versus you. I mean, training is relative to the individual, right? So what I'm doing is going to be different than what Devin's doing, different than what someone on day 4 is doing that maybe hasn't worked out in 10 plus years. And that's where, you know, it took me a while to not feel like I was not competing, but I want to be inspired by the person next to me, but I also know that they might have a different weight because it's challenging them in a different way, either higher or lower. It doesn't matter what the weight is. What matters is the challenge that you are experiencing yourself and you being intentional with that challenge, and also making sure your trainer knows your goals. So that way, when you hear over the mic, when they might increase rep count, you know that maybe they're talking to you because you need that extra challenge to keep you moving forward.
And we're going to do that with strength training for sure, but we're also, you know, we also have these conditioning days, right? And the 3 conditioning days, and it's agility and it's speed and it's reaction training. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about why move laterally, why do we do these reaction drills, why deceleration is essential. A lot of people want to accelerate, but they don't want to decelerate. Part of agility and those human movement patterns that have to do with conditioning. Part of what we're doing here is we're running, we're jumping, we're cutting, we're laterally moving side to side, we're reacting in any given plane. There's the frontal plane, the sagittal plane, and the transverse plane. Those are the 3 planes of motion. And we want to get you to react. We call these green bays at Burn Boot Camp. So if you think about like a green bay, if you guys can just close your eyes and visualize it. I'll have camp chop their feet. Hey, chop your feet, everybody. On me, I'm going to have you square your shoulders up to me in the front of the room, and then I'm going to have you take your hips, and I'm going to have you twist those hips left, and then I'm going to have you twist those hips right, and then you drop down, and then I might have you jump up in the sky, and then I might have you do a forward and back on a line or something like that. So I've got this drill, this reaction drill. We call it trainer call out. Just because we don't want to say, okay, everybody, now it's time for reaction drills, right? We call it trainer call out, so that when our trainers, when you hear that, you know, hey, we're working on reaction. And your goal is to bang, react to the timing. And so if I say left, boom, you want to drive that right foot forward, swivel those hips, keep your shoulders square, transverse plane, right? That's this rotation. You want to rotate transversely. And then if I say down, or if I say over and back, or if I say side to side, you're going to be in the frontal or the sagittal plane. And in Green Bay is a drill, that like a staple drill at Burn Boot Camp that we do there. And I think it's really important just to talk about this, because it builds this quickness, it builds this responsiveness, it builds the body control. But we don't want to forget one key element here, which is balance. Balance is the art of deceleration in a lot of cases. Not all cases, but a lot of cases. In the case of somebody getting onboarded into that hypertrophy highway from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, a lot of times balance is stability endurance. Hey, before I'm going to have you do a jump lunge, I'm definitely going to make sure you can stand on one foot. Right. But once you've kind of gotten over that and you're through that first phase, hey, now balance becomes deceleration. Okay, so we do Heismans, Trisha. And have you ever seen me train somebody on a Heisman? Like, have you ever zoned into it?
I don't think so.
Okay. So if I'm training you on a Heisman, what do most people do? Like when they Heismans, what do you see most people doing?
They don't get their steps right. It's step, drive, and they can't get those motions. It's kind of like a dance move.
And they're going. They're getting these steps, and these steps are very rhythmic.
Yeah.
It's like boom, 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 boom. When it really should be in a Heisman, is where you go. You're going side to side, okay, and you're gonna go step, drive the inside knee up. You want to hold that. They're called Heismans. Why? Because of the Heisman Trophy.
So I'm doing it wrong? Because I go for speed.
You want to go for power and balance on a Heisman, okay? So you want to go step as fast as you can in the middle, hold up, drive the knee in, give me a little isometric, and then bang, bang, other side, hold.
Okay.
Bang, bang, other side, hold. So if you see me training somebody, I'm going to slow them down, right? And what I'm actually doing is decelerating them. I'm going to accelerate them, and then I'm going to decelerate them. Okay. We do this when we do down and backs on the floor, right? When I don't want people running into the wall. At Burn Boot Camp, we have 4 walls, right? And we have these lines on the floor. I want them getting down. You remember from gym class in high school? Like when you're doing the shuttle run?
Oh, yeah.
It's like touch the line.
Yeah.
They don't you got to get down and touch the line, because the art of touching the line is actually decelling you, so you can slow down enough to bend down to touch the line, so you can change directions and go the other way.
Yeah.
All right. So agility, speed, reaction training. We have some good stuff by Joe DeFranco on this. Let's go to his clip real quick, and Tricia and I will react to it.
Another episode of Joe Knows. Today I am going to discuss the truth behind agility training. And I say the truth because I feel like agility training just might be the most misunderstood aspect of training there is. And all you need to do is look no further than your Instagram feed, or go to YouTube, type in the term agility training, and watch what pops up. Basically, there are 2 recognized methods that have just become the gold standard for improving agility, and they are good old-fashioned speed ladder drills and various cone drills. And the cone drills are comical. I'm sure you guys have seen them. They are somewhat entertaining. You'll have an athlete or a coach with a bunch of cones lined up, and they start doing some salsa dance looking moves around them, and figure eights.
I love my salsa dance
all
moves.
kinds of crazy crap that has absolutely no transfer to the field whatsoever. And I know this because I have come across more athletes than I could name that have amazing ladder drill times and are really good at dancing around a bunch of cones, but they suck on the athletic field. They basically have no on-field agility. And why is that? Because they are 2 completely different things. The ladder drills and the cone drills are basically predetermined movement patterns. They're patterns that you can learn. They're the same each week. You could just practice those same moves until you get good at them. The athletic field, nothing could be further or different from ladder drills and cone drills. When you're on the athletic field, the environment is random, it's chaotic. You have to react to visual stimulus, or react to other bodies, other people. That is a completely different animal than learning a predetermined pattern.
Okay, and this is great. And not all of us are going to be Barry Sanders and go on the football field and need to react visually to the big person about to tackle you. But I love what he's saying, because it is so true that we can get good at things to feel good, when in reality what I want us to focus on is the deceleration and acceleration. So Tricia, when you think about what your takeaways are from Franco and what I'm talking about, how do you translate that into your own head? How are you going to take this stuff away and train? Are you going to train differently, or are you going to triple down on what you're already doing?
Well, it's interesting because when I first watched this clip, I never really thought about it from the aspect of it is a dance move, and you have practiced this dance move, and you know the salsa dance, right? We all know when we're going through the ladder drills, but what we also need to be mindful of is taking it back to applying it to what we're doing in real life, and how this is actually helping us. While it's the agility movement of the speed, the quickness, and making sure that we can react is really what we should be intentionally training, not necessarily focused on, but I will say it is fun to do the dance moves, not focusing on that, but in focusing on how this is improving our bodies to live a better life.
Yeah, I love just the reaction side of it. So what I want you all to take away from this is the deceleration part of it, right? So deceleration, acceleration, the trainer call-outs. This is our lifestyle athlete version of what Joe's talking about. We're just saying, hey, react to whatever I say, right? Yeah, you have predetermined patterns. You can get good at swiveling your hips. You can get good at transverse power rotation. But when I say left and I see half the room go right, that's what I'm talking about. I want 4 different random call-outs. We're going to go left, right, up, down. You never know what's coming. I might go back to back on one side, and it's your job to connect your mind to your body and then react. And so I want you to take away reaction time, and I want you to take away deceleration and acceleration. And even in the ladder drill, as you can see in all those funny ladder drills, which I think they definitely have their place when you are not they have their place when you are not an athlete that's going to go out and compete in an actual sport at a high level. We're using it a lot of times just for conditioning and variation and to have fun. It is fun to do those ladder drills. But there's also ladder drills in which you're focusing on acceleration and deceleration. So I'm going chop, chop, high knee on the right side of the ladder. I'm going to pause that just like a Heisman, collect my balance, drop in the next box over to the left side, and then I'm controlling my acceleration and my deceleration there. And I think that is a good meeting in the middle.
And the ability to move your body in that way. So that way when you are doing not the Heismans, but the call out, the trainer call outs, your body is able to move. Now you have to do what Devin said and connect your mind to those movements that you know your body can do.
Let's hear from NASM, Speed, Agility, and Quickness. This is Axiom Fitness Academy, and they have like maybe a 45-second clip I thought was interesting.
So now that we've covered speed, agility and quickness are kind of the two that tend to hang people up, trying to understand the difference between one and the other. Now in both of them, right, you start to think about like cone drills, deceleration, change of direction. Agility and in quickness type drills, you're going to have that. With agility, you're going to see as we demo a couple of examples, agility is going to be more known variables, meaning we're working on our ability to decelerate, change direction, and move in other ways, right? We're not just going front to back like with speed, but we're trying to move and decelerate, change direction. Quickness, though, is going to be a little bit more decision-making in the moment. That's the easiest way for you guys to think about it. So first,
Okay, so just another way to think about it based on what we're saying. The difference between agility and quickness is reaction time, and I think that's great. So thank you to Axiom for providing us with that cool video. Let's talk about injury prevention. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. I was a pitcher, if you guys did not know, at a high level. Since I was like a little boy, I wanted to make the big leagues. I can remember my father was a Detroit Tiger minor leaguer, and I can remember like seeing him in his minor league uniform when I was a kid, and I thought he was like, a perennial all-star. I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And just like my son now, Maxwell, he wants to watch Sunday night, like it's Saturday and Sunday, it's baseball. Dad, it's not Disney movies anymore, it's baseball. He wants to watch Sunday night baseball. We watched Shohei Ohtani play Aaron Judge, and he is literally obsessed, which then makes my little boy, Ryan, my youngest son, he's in the parrot mode right now, so it makes him super obsessed with it. So we are a baseball family through and through. And I ended up playing with the San Francisco Giants at a high level, and I did not make it to the big leagues. But I'm proud of that journey. It taught me so much. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. But there's one downside to it. There's one downside to playing sports your whole life, Trish, and that's your shoulder. At least if you're a pitcher, my shoulder is absolutely wrecked. I mean, think about the asymmetry of throwing like 1 million balls with the right hand and only rotating. That transverse motion I keep talking about. Imagine only doing that really on one side. We all pitchers have stuff going on. And Trish, you grew up an athlete too. What imbalances? I think we all have imbalances, whether it be from leaning in our chair unconsciously in a certain way for an extended period of time, or playing sports at a high level. Do you have any imbalances, or are you feeling pretty good nowadays?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I think my biggest thing is I don't stretch enough, and I don't think I've ever stretched enough. So that's where I think my biggest opportunity is. I feel pretty lucky that I haven't had any major injuries. And I always say, like, whenever I say that, I'm like, maybe I didn't push myself hard enough because I've just been lucky. But I'm also training to make sure that I don't get injuries. So that's where I'm at now in my life. I don't have time to get hurt.
And yeah, for sure. You definitely don't. You are one of the busiest women I know. And, my right shoulder has just been fired up for so long. And listen, I'm a corrective exercise specialist. I know exactly what to do. I just didn't do it for a very long time. How many of you can relate to that? You have the knowledge, but knowledge is not power. It's only potential power unless you actually execute, because all of the gains are made inside of the execution. And so, I had to get real with my life, and I hired somebody. I hired Justin Swenson, who is my athletic trainer, and he's taught me a lot. He's smarter than I am in terms of corrective exercise. And I don't know quite a bit. I'm not like an expert or a PhD or anything like that, but I'm very interested in it. I love learning about it, and for most baseline cases, I can really help people. And I have this. So your AC joint is right. It's basically just your shoulder cap, right? It's where your levator muscle comes in, the bicep muscle comes in up underneath that, and I have like this space in my AC joint. It's very tight. And because it's tight and because there's not a lot of space there, my levator muscle here, okay, it gets very, very angry, or what we call, it's very tonal. It's like, that's like a fancy word for, it's very pissed off at you. It doesn't like you very much. It's having to work much, much harder to help correct, because the body will do that. Now, I know that I should be laying on a foam roller, opening up my chest, stretching the pectoral muscles, lengthening the bicep, and really just letting the scapular come together, and then doing this motion here where I get full scapular rotation up and down. I should be doing that. And for the longest time, I wasn't doing that. You might see these people do these on the wall. Okay, what you're trying to do is open up the scap and get the full scapular rotation without any dropping. A lot of times my right shoulder will drop, and you can see if I do that motion nice and slow for 10 reps, by 8 reps or 9 reps or 10 reps, the right side drops out and I'm losing control of it. And so Justin and I are really working on prehab exercises, not rehab exercises at this point. And I went from like a 2 out of 10, I went from like a 10 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10. Doing a very simple routine where I will use a door, and I'll do the door frame stretch for 30 seconds, and I'll really try to open up, and I'll really depress the shoulders, and I'll really try to make sure that I'm pinching my scaps together and really opening up my chest, and I'll hold that, and then I'll come back through and do the floor angels, or I'll do the wall where I'm getting that full scapular retraction. And the last thing that I'll do is thoracic spine movements. We do a lot of this at Burn Bootcamp in our warm-ups, but we call it open book, where you're here. If you can't see me, I'm just going to I'll be laying on the ground, and I'm just going to open my right elbow 8 times. The thoracic spine doesn't have a lot of mobility, so you want to move it within the range of motion that it's made to move in. And a lot of us are so tight in our thoracic spine that it just cascades either up or down into different injuries. And so prehab is a word that I want to introduce you guys to. On Burn On Demand, we have a whole bunch of recovery and stretching and foam rolling. We're going to put more and more and more corrective exercise stuff on there in the future. But we do have a video I wanted to show you from Jason and Lauren Pack. They do a good job at talking about 7 prehab exercises that can prevent injury before you actually get injured. It's about a minute clip. Roll that.
Like these, the big lifts, they help you to get strong and jacked. While movements like these, the little lifts, help you to stay fresh and resilient and enable you to keep training hard. In this video, I'm gonna go over my top 7 prehab moves that I do in my training that have made a massive difference in my ability to stay pain-free and injury-free. Let's get right into it. So rehab is short for rehabilitation, whereas prehab is short for prehabilitation. You use rehab exercises to recover from an injury or pain in a certain area, whereas you use prehab exercises to shore up and strengthen weak links to help to prevent those injuries from ever happening in the first place. Now, the cause of pain and injuries is going to be multifactorial, meaning that there's a lot of other factors involved beyond the muscle being weak or tight. But challenging and loading these areas that tend to get banged up when you get after it in the gym can still be extremely helpful to encourage blood flow and build up durability and resiliency in these areas. With all that.
Okay, so prehab and rehab. So most people wait till we get injured and then we go to rehab, right? The second exercise he showed where it's abductor strength training. You're really putting time under tension on the adductor muscle inside of your thigh, and you're holding that side plank. We just did that when I was in Cape Coral last month. We did that exercise. It is so hard. It's so tough. And so this is why you come to Burn, because we're going to put these exercises in there. You also saw the mini band frontal plane walks. You're going to see that, right? You're going to see these little exercises that are prehabilitation exercises so that you can, like he said, get after it in the gym. Trish, what's your reaction to this whole prehab concept?
Well, I think if you're watching on YouTube and you saw this clip and you were looking through the exercises, you're like, oh yeah, we do that at Burn Boot Camp. We do that, and I think it's intentional. You know, he said that it's not only from a prehab perspective, but it's also getting the muscles warm, which is why some of those you also see in our warm up. So the warm up is, the trainers say, it's one of the most important parts of camp because it's part of that prehab, making sure that your muscles are warm for then us to then add load or whatever it is that we're going to be doing.
The dynamic warm up is so important. And so for all you members out there, and you know who I'm talking to, I get you can roll in on 3 wheels every once in a while, but if it becomes a habitual thing, then you're, you know, like seriously, you're vulnerable to injury goes way up because you don't have that 5 to 7 minutes to really work into the movements. We always, when Matt and I program, what we're doing is we're actually programming more like the body weight prehab style version of whatever we're going to be doing in the actual workout, just to get those muscles warmed up or get them activated. Have you ever just tried to like roll out of bed and do a squat? It's like, it's really hard.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't feel good. You're all cranky and stuff. We just want to make sure that you're training smart, and that if you have 45 minutes, like don't worry, we're going to get after it for 32 to 35 minutes, but we need you to show up on time and make sure you take that seriously. And listen, if you find me at Lake Norman at noon, I'm up there at 11:45 before the noon camp doing something, usually foam rolling, maybe some prehab exercises, even though I mostly do that mobility prehab type stuff in the morning. But you'll see me up there for 15 minutes getting my body primed, getting it ready to go. What's your favorite way to prime yourself, Trish?
Well, I mean, making the warm up. I intentionally have to go to the warm up because you guys, I'm busy. I go to 5:30 a.m. camp. I don't have a routine in the morning besides making sure that the first thing I do when I wake up at 4:30 in the morning is drink coffee. You can judge me all you want, but I drink my coffee, and I kind of had this now. I'm implementing meditation. So I think I get my mind ready, but then I really rely on camp to get my body warmed up. So that's where warm up comes in really, really important for me.
Well, this is about longevity. And if you've been around me for any amount of time, yeah, I'm intense for sure. And most people just see the intensity, but there's also the soft recovery side that I value just as much. And I've been showing that more as of late because I understand the steward of health and fitness that I am, and it's growing. And I want to make sure that I'm taking my responsibilities seriously and showing all sides of it. This is why Burn On Demand has foam rolling and recovery. And, you know, if you're a non-member, you can jump on that and you can do our live camps Monday through Friday, and you can get intense, right? And then you can roll a recovery video before and or after. And if you're showing up to, you know, one of our 400 plus gyms, then you're just gonna get that built in. A lot of our locations are even doing Motion, which is our version of yoga. We also have that on the app. And I thought Dr. Kelly Starrett, she talks about intensity, recovery, the balance. Like, this is about longevity. You have to have, like, the ocean waves come in and the ocean waves come out, right? We breathe in and we breathe out. There's masculine energy and there's feminine energy. And I don't mean that to be gender specific. That's just like the energy of intensity and go, go, go. Like all you women out there, you have the masculine side of your energy too. And all you men need to tap into the feminine energy as well and be and recover and go and be softer and realize that it's not both of us, right? Both genders, it's not go, 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 go all the time. Sometimes slower is better. Sometimes a day off. Guys, a day off of not doing anything. I know mentally some of you don't like to do that, but I need us to take a day off or 2 or sometimes even 3, listen to our body and recover. We're not going to talk about sleep really right now because we're talking about athletic training, but recovery is 80% in your sleep. But let's roll Dr. Kelly's video.
We could start with a simple idea. We say, let's be consistent before we're heroic. Right. If your intensity causes you to not be able to show up for the gym for 3 days, I'm like, sweet, that was sweet. And our adaptation response to that is sucky, right? I much rather you be getting more consistent and not blowing yourself out. Remember that there was a phase where we were like, you shouldn't be sore when you leave the gym. Remember that? Like there were people who would talk about, hey, leave some reps in reserve, like show up the next day, grease the groove. That's old Pavel Tsatsouline stuff. I think that's really good advice, especially since most people are not 20. Most people, and when you're 20, you need to go find out what the limits are. Touch the fence, the electric fence once in a while, right?
Lick
lick all the doorknobs. Let's just call it that way. But you know what ends up happening is there's a lot of things have to be in place for you to be able to go to the well that many times. And what we know now, because we have all of this data, is that we can make better progress, not burning it to the ground every single time.
I love this. I love this. We want, when you come to the gym, we want you to get to what we call a 10 out of 10 at least once. We're not saying, that's an RPE, by the way, a rate of perceived exertion. So if you're one of our 2,000 plus trainers, you already know this. If you're listening and you're not, what we are looking for is for you to get to at just one point. We want every member at one point to get to that point where they push their body, they got to a 10 out of 10. Trisha, show me what a 10 out of 10 looks like on your face on the RPE scale. Go.
Really attractive, though.
Okay. Now, what's a 0?
Yeah, you're
We're
falling asleep. You're yawning in camp. Yeah.
All right, or I'm talking to somebody as a 0. And so, listen, what he's saying is, he's saying exactly what I'm saying, just in a different way. It's to get there at least once, but you don't have to get there every rep, every day, and stay there all the time. If you do, you're perpetually very, very, very sore. And like he said, which I think is very humorous, that most of us aren't 20. And as we get older, we build up strength, but we're also building up lactic acid. We're also building up corrosion. We're also building up crud in our body. And, we don't perform as well when we're 50 as we do when we're 20, okay? That's just part of the natural aging process. So 10 out of 10 at a rate of perceived exertion, going hard, get yourself there once, twice. If you're feeling good, get yourself there 3, 4, 5 times in a workout. But you don't need to have this expectation that every time that you come to the gym, you got to be at a 10 out of 10 for the full 45 minutes, and that you got to show up in the warm-up and start doing, plyometrics in the warm-up, okay? That is not what this is about. Again, this goes back to athletic training is about just as much about recovery and lengthening as it is about strengthening, okay? So, Trisha, we're going to roll a video for the Burn Bootcamp training cycles, and we're going to bring this home for everybody. We're going to get everybody out of here. If you guys have any questions for Trisha or I, just hit us up on Instagram. All right, Devin.Klein on Instagram, and Trisha?
Trish Pena.
Trish Pena. And we are here for you, okay? We can answer any questions. I spend about a half an hour every night going through all my DMs and helping out people that need help for absolute free. I just love to do it. It's something, it helps me learn too. So we're going to roll the Burn Bootcamp training cycles video. I just want to do a good job of bringing this whole human movement pattern, mesocycle, fundamental 24, athletic training, PR mindset to you so that you can walk in camp next time and you can know exactly what we're here to do. Because when you're intentional, that's when the results really get good. Burn Nation, 2025 is here, and it's bringing the next evolution in your fitness journey. After collaborating with your trainers, we've redesigned our programming to deliver a more personal, powerful, and transformative experience. So, here's the big picture. 2025 is built around 9 training phases, or mesocycles, each lasting 4 to 6 weeks. Every week, you'll get 3 strength days, 3 conditioning days, and workouts designed to push your limits. We've created our 9 cutting-edge protocols driven by the 12 human movement patterns. Master the 2 trackable exercises within these patterns, and you'll build unbreakable strength, seeing and feeling your progress in real time. And when it's time to level up, welcome to PR Week, a celebration of your growth, grit, and new personal records. At Burn, you train with those who set the standard, push the limits, and lead the way in redefining what's possible. You have experts here to map out your unstoppable strength, and all you have to do is show up and give it everything you've got. All right, Trisha, take us out.
All right, guys, if you like this episode, go ahead and go to the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share with somebody, and I'm going to go ahead and take us out. Devin, are you ready?
Ready.
2 claps on 2. 1, 2. Bye.